You may not pass my class, but you will pass AP exam are the most terrifying words to escape a teacher's mouth. Mr. Cleavard's AP United States History class was a privilege in disguise. First quarter was diabolic. Not accustomed to the arduous workload, I failed every test. My studying had to change. Before school, after school, and during lunch, I was in Mr. Ard's classroom. The slogan, "Hard work pays off," is no myth. I'd finally found my key to success. Not only had I conquered his class, but in May I earned a 4. For my hard work and dedication, Mr. Ard christened me Deegaнаtor. Mr. Ard taught me 2 crucial rules. Never back down, and when speaking about the Bulldog Nation, always begin the sentence with, "The University of Georgia, the greatest university ever created." Quickly I learned the truth of Mr. Ard's first rule, and I wanted to discover his second rule. I was determined, motivated, and persistent. 2 semesters of AP United States History forced me to realize the opportunity that Mr. Ard had afforded me, and history repeats itself. Afforded the opportunity that furthered my success, I decided to repeat my strive, commitment, and perseverance at the University of Georgia. Applying to the University of Georgia was another instance of a privilege in disguise. Regretful of not joining my classmates in an early action application, I only knew I would have to work that much harder on my application because there were more places I had to shine. There was not only an extensive application that boggled my mind even by sight, but also a teacher recommendation and 4 200-word essays. My teacher recommendation came from the notorious Mr. Ard. I had respect for him and valued his opinion as much as my parents. My gut instinct indicated he'd be my best advocate. After 3 days, he handed me a white sheet of paper, had a "Dear Sir and Madame" in black font, and the bottom was signed in swirled red cursive ink. He had not yet submitted my recommendation and had it in front of me, awaiting my approval. Yet to apply to college, I knew this was not typical procedure. His words were, "Have I left anything out?" Mr. Ard also continued with, "Deegan, I want Georgia for you as bad as you want Georgia for you." The recommendation was one of the most genuine, heartfelt, motivational pieces of writing, and all of the page's characters described me from his perspective. Mr. Ard highlighted my strengths and underlined my motivation to succeed. He spoke of me with such high regard, filling the letter with compliments not even my parents could testify. When push came to shove, Mr. Ard squeezed the best out of me. Mr. Ard wanted UGA for me as bad as I wanted it. There Mr. Ard was once again changing my life step by step. After my recommendation was complete, I knuckled down on my college essays. Writing about myself was challenging because I was used to critiquing someone else's work throughout my high school English literature classes. My essays were revised and rewritten more times than I can count with one hand. Miss Pickert, my advanced placement English literature teacher, edited my essays with utmost patience and particularity. She reminded me, "Your essays have to say something about you without actually saying it." The deadline for my essays was creeping closer. 4 days prior to the January 14th deadline, I finally summoned up the courage to submit my application. The time between my future's outcome and the final click of submit seemed like an eternity. One class, Miss Pickert decided to stray from her rigorous AP exam preparation to go off on a tangent about the light not always being green. For the strict, precise, planned Miss Pickert, this type of lecture was very unusual. She was unmarried, liberal, and unconventional, yet I knew she was always right. Short of scaring me to death, Miss Pickert brought up a relevant and valid argument. Would UGA be a red light I would have to slam my brakes for? The uncertainty left me feeling so, until around March when I was creeping around the infamous blog of David Graves. I read a post quoting a line from an essay that I had written, repeated verbatim. The sentence was mine. I vividly remember my heart beating 1,000,000 miles a minute. My eyes were lit up like a 5-year-old on Christmas morning. I was thrilled. To sum it up, my essay was on the UGA admissions blog in crystal clear, black and white, Times New Roman font. This was an encouraging green light. The end of my senior year was exciting for numerous reasons. My birthday, prom, spring break, and my outcome of applying to the University of Georgia. My status concerning UGA was first. Therefore, needless to say, it was the determining factor for my attitude towards the next chain of events. My parents insisted it was not the end of the world if I did not receive acceptance, but it was the end of my world. The Friday results were released, and I checked out early to blankly stare at the computer screen for at least an hour, waiting. Holding the computer mouse over the refresh button made my hand compulsively quiver. Click, and a new screen popped up. My eyes scanned the words. The University of Georgia is extremely selective and therefore simply cannot supply enough seats for the amount of applicants we have for our undergraduate program. In my heart, I only wanted to have one of those seats offered, and if necessary, I would have shared a seat. As I clicked the "Yes, I'm in a comfortable environment to proceed" button, I did not even read the words. My eyes were drawn and instantly focused on the array of colors exploding into the screen. I was finally in. The entire application process to the University of Georgia brought forth another example of Mr. Ard's basic concept I learned my junior year. Hard work pays off. I dedicated myself to twinkle in the eyes of others. My light was green so far. I was afforded the opportunity to present myself to the best of my capabilities, and I earned what I had desired. Had I not applied myself in Mr. Ard's AP United States History class, I often wonder if the outcomes of my desires would be the same today, and if I would even be writing this essay.